Last two examples. Again, we're going to rewrite, integrate, and then simplify. So we're going to take this problem, and I'm going to use what I know about fractions, and I'm going to split up the numerator using this as my denominator for both separate fractions. So we're going to do a lot of front-end loading on this problem, do a lot of work simplifying before we're rewriting, before we actually integrate. Again, keep forgetting my dx. So then we need to recognize that each one of these, this really happens to be x to the 1/2 power. This is x to the 1/2 power. So I'm going to bring those up with my top values. So that makes that x to the -1/2 dx. That makes this x to the -1/2 dx. And then this little guy right here, well, we can just use our properties of exponents and simplify that. That makes that a little bit easier to work with because 1 plus a -1/2, that's going to make that a positive 1/2. My one doesn't want to seem to write. A lot of work, but actually simplified the problem quite nicely. So now we just do our antiderivatives. We integrate. So I'm going to add 1 to that exponent, and that's going to get me 3/2. Again, we divide by that result of our exponent. I'm going to add that. I'm going to add 1 onto this little guy here. That's going to get me a positive 1/2. Again, divide by 1/2. Don't forget your plus c. That would not be an acceptable answer to have a fraction within a fraction. So again, dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocals. So my final answer should be 2/3 x to the 3/2, 2x to the 1/2 plus c. Number 10, I remember way back at the beginning of the school year, in the beginning of this course, we talked about how sometimes we have to look at things and simplify them to make it a little easier to work with. So in this case, since there are 2 of these down here, one thing I want us to be able to recognize is the fact that that really is the same as sine of cosine of x times 1 over the cosine of x. So again, just understanding properties of exponents, what does it mean? It means you have 2 of them. Again, as long as I can multiply what I have here and get back to this, then I've rewritten the problem correctly. Now, you may be asking yourself, so how does this really help me? Well, here's knowing our trig relationships is very helpful, because now you should know what sine over cosine is. Sine over cosine is just another name for tangent. And 1 over cosine is nothing more than secant. And with that quite little bit of rewrite, you can just know, or you should know, hey, what do I derive to get tangent secant? And your answer would be secant x. Of course, don't forget plus c.